when Saria phoned me up and cajoled me into, asked me to take part in, so I had no idea what I was going to talk about. And listening to everybody else, it's been quite interesting in that they've talked about all the things I was going to talk about, but also James's story in particular almost mirrors my own. And when you think that's like 25 years ago, it's incredible to think that times have not changed a great deal. For me, role models are a bit like leaders. They're all over the place. It's not about a position or responsibility. It's not about a decision that you make that you're going to be a role model, you're going to be a leader. People look up to you because you are someone who makes things happen, or you inspire somebody, and they try to follow you. Now, when I was in my primary school, funny enough, actually, James, similar story for me. When I was as yours, for me, when I was in my primary school, there was very little access to music beyond general classroom music, very little whatsoever. I used to sneak into the hall because I saw a piano there, and I just loved the sound of a piano. That was my first love, actually. Don't tell my wife. I used to sneak in to try and play the piano during break times. And I'd always get kicked out. I'd get kicked out because, as far as the school was concerned, I had no musical training. I didn't know what a piano was, and it was bashing around on the piano. Now, that isn't, of course, what I was trying to do. But eventually, 2 doors down from where I lived, I found a neighbour who was a pianist who played in church. My family ended up going to the same church, and I got the plucked up the courage to ask him if I could visit and listen to him play. That inspired me so much that I wanted to learn to play the piano. Gospel piano, just glorious. When I spoke with my mum about learning to play the piano, she had no idea what I was talking about. She also said, well, it's going to be too expensive. This is a really expensive business, and I don't know how to help you. So I had to go and find, by the way, I was 10, 11 years old at this time. I had to go and find a musical instrument, and round the corner from where we lived, there was a second-hand shop. And I don't know whether anyone remembers these kind of Bon Tempi keyboards. They're about 2 octaves long. I saw one there for £8, and I ran home, and I asked my mum, could I borrow £8? I've seen a Bon Tempi keyboard. I don't know what it is, but it looks like the thing that Paul has next door, but smaller. So she got me this £8, and she came round with me because she didn't know what I was going to do. And in those days, £8 was a lot of money. We bought the Bon Tempi keyboard, got that home, had no idea how it worked. Eventually got it working. And to this day, I'm convinced that there are, like 12 Oompa Loompas inside giving it air as it plays. It sounded a bit like bagpipes or squeaking cat. Actually, I used to play the bagpipes. Very short period of time I played the bagpipes and wore a kilt, the whole regalia. Didn't end well. I won't carry on with that one. Later, another friend of mine was involved in a play scheme round the corner again from where I live. It used to be called the Playtown. It's closed down now. And there was a guy there called Bernard McGovern, who's gone now. He was an ex-Grenadier Guardsman, and he was in the Grenadier Guards band. He started up a marching band, and I asked if I could join. I was there for maybe 3 weeks, and I saw these guys, young boys, playing drums, orchestral percussion, glockenspiel, xylophones, cymbals, bass drum, that kind of thing. And eventually I joined this band, and it was one of the best things I ever did, because it taught me discipline, it taught me how to work with other people and make music sound good. It taught me that drums and percussion wasn't all about making noise, it was actually about making music. And that's something that I'll never forget. Going on into my secondary school, very similar stories as to what happened in my primary school. In fact, I didn't start playing the piano seriously, having lessons, until I was 13. I used to hear the piano being played, and I loved the sound of it. And I fell in love with I don't know if anybody knows it's Bach's Minuet in G major. Very simple, short piece. Yes, I know. But it was delightful. It was simple, elegant. It was lovely. And I looked through the door, and there were about 3 people having music lessons, learning to play the piano in this classroom. Not one of them was a black person, and I thought maybe this isn't the class I'm supposed to be in. You know, this is not for me. A few weeks later, I heard another sound, and it was a trumpet. Trumpet voluntary was being played in the same classroom. Looked through the door, and there was a young black boy playing trumpet voluntary. And the sound of that trumpet was so sweet that I was completely gripped by it. And I thought, maybe this is for me. Maybe I can do this. He looks like me, talks like me. Patois, by the way, Jamaica patois. Not going to go into it. Talks like me, but actually plays the trumpet. And he's playing such beautiful sounds on the trumpet. So I followed him around school for a few days, and we talked a lot. And eventually he was the one who approached the music teacher and got me piano lessons. And that was my first piano lesson at the age of 13. After 2 years, the wonderful lady, she left at the end of that year, actually. In 2 years, there was no music in my school whatsoever, nothing. So if it wasn't for the activity outside of school, I wouldn't have probably continued what I'm doing now. I did actually, as you ended up at the CBSI, I was in the LSSO, and you mentioned that there weren't many black people in that group at that time, and I was actually the only one when I was there. Things have changed a lot now. Things have changed a lot, and I'm really pleased to see that things have changed a lot. And I know that music services and their music hubs are doing a great deal of work to encourage music making on all sorts of levels. In Hackney, where I work as head of music service, we have a number of different orchestras, and we have all sorts of ensembles, both Western and non-Western ensembles. And the mix is really good. We have a very good mix of young musicians working, playing alongside one another. It wasn't always that way, but I think there are no quick fixes to any of this. And each of us, individually, we are all role models, whether we like it or not. Each of us, I think, has a responsibility to support the young people, and particularly young people, we're talking about black young people, we're talking about getting involved in orchestral music. There is that slight barrier sometimes when young people may listen to this music and actually it doesn't have any connection with me. It's not about who I am. But it wasn't for me either. I fell in love with the sound of the instrument. It just so happened that was the music that was being played, and that's what attracted me, and I got involved in that. I have to say, when I did my A-levels, I did get told off for putting flat nines and sharp fifths and things in my Beethoven string quartets, but jazz is another one of my loves. But we have a whole range of things going on in Hackney, and in fact, Charlotte Condini Barber, or Barbara Condini, I don't know whether she's here, but I saw her name on the list. She's the leader in our orchestra, and we're extremely proud of what she's achieved, and she's a fantastic role model to a lot of the young people in Hackney. We've started a programme whereby we encourage young musicians who are doing well, not just black young musicians, but there are quite a few of them in Hackney, and we're promoting that. They go along and attend orchestras, holiday courses, our festival, and they act as mentors and support other young people. And for me, the thing about role models is that we do, and people have said this already, we do need to see more young black people out there doing what they do. And part of our responsibility, as I mentioned before, is about providing platforms for that to happen. When Charlotte played, I think, the recorder for the first time at one of our gala events at Ocean and Main Street, she played the recorder and did a fantastic solo. We just finished a choral piece, more like, it wasn't actually choral, it was a vocal piece. And there were lots of rowdy young musicians making lots of noise, and we thought, my goodness, how's Charlotte going to follow all this with a recorder? She got on stage, and within seconds, you could have heard a pin drop. The quality of her performance was outstanding. And for a few weeks after that, we had so many requests from schools. How do we get recorder up and running in our school? We've got so many children who want to learn to play the recorder. So this is what I'm talking about, really. We have to not only be pioneers is the wrong word. We've got to be the protagonists. We've got to be the people that actually make things happen. but also ensure that those progression routes are in place and we're promoting it. It's not just something that we talk about, it's something that we do. And we should be judged by our actions, not by what we say. So I'm pleased that at least we're doing as much as we can to make that happen, and fundraising all the time, and working in partnership with a range of other organisations to enable these pathways for young people. So that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.